All right. Happy Friday. We hope you had a great week. We hope to launch you into the weekend. I know my brain is officially fried. We started school this past week. We had students, so those of you that are in education understand the teacher brain. But this is After Dark commentary and reactions. We are rewatching 1923. We're on episode 7. That is a great one. So we are presented by Dead Soxy. Before we get into our full recap and reactions and predictions and all of the above, we are presented by Dead Soxy. If you want to be an Ole Miss NIL supporter, hit up deadsoxy.com. They have socks of all colors, so you can get some Juice Kiffin socks. If you're a fan of a different team, you can get some socks and say purple and gold. What? Scarlet. What? Cardinal. What? So when you sign up, here's
orange,
what happens.
By the way,
you can get orange too.
Yeah.
We can't leave Jeb out. You can get orange.
Thanks.
So here's the perks, guys. You ready for this? You get a constant and consistent 25% discount.
Nice.
When you sign up, you get a free gift. Who doesn't love a free gift, right? You get free shipping.
Nice.
That's awesome. And you're contributing to Ole Miss NIL as is part of a collective. So
nice.
You should visit deadsoxy.com, pick your socks out, get ready for game day. Dead Soxy, stay soxy.
Exactly. Promo code After Dark.
Promo code After Dark.
After
Dark, Dead Soxy. So, got a great episode lined up for you. This one was exciting. Jeb is going to give us the rundown on how the episode went.
Well, that sounds good. Yeah, this episode is more building up to what I'm assuming will be an exciting finale, although now I'm starting to wonder how they're going to pack everything into the finale. But let's talk about what happened this episode just to catch everybody up, and then we'll discuss it. But basically, this episode starts off at the Dutton Ranch, so that's where all started. We see the couples, Jacob and Kara, Jack and Elizabeth, all basically saying goodbye to each other because the men are running out. We kind of left off in the last episode a little unclear as to what Jacob's ultimate decision would be. He wants to form a posse, go after Banner and kill him. His wife, Kara, wants him to work with the police and just have him arrested. But he rides off with his posse. So he and Jack and about, I don't know, like 6 other people, I think, so maybe like 8 overall, take off and ride into town. On their way into town, though, they do pass the sheriff, and he gets in cars and follows them. And it turns out that Jacob has decided to have him arrested. So they go to the house to arrest Banner Creighton. And then we get a kind of a shot inside the house, which is interesting. Banner Creighton is now living large. He's smoking cigars, got champagne. He's walking around in a nice robe. He's got a couple prostitutes in there with him. So he seems like he's got a nice little Saturday planned out, but unfortunately it gets ruined. And the sheriff shows up and does arrest him. This is the first time Jacob actually presents himself to any of the, we'll call them bad guys of the episode. So now they can see he's still alive. So Banner's now realizing he might be kind of screwed here because he didn't kill him off like he thought he did. And he gets arrested. The other thing that happens during this little period, though, is we see our lawman who signed up last week that we were all a little weary about because he was just too perfect for the job, Clyde, and he does take off and go find Donald Whitfield, the miner with the money, to report on what's happened. So it's obvious that he is actually a mole. At this point, we switch to Donald Whitfield. He is out at one of his mines. They're doing some explosives, I don't know, that kind of thing. Get ready to go. Blasting, there you go. That's a good term. We'll talk about that too because I saw some interesting things in that. But anyway, he gets reported to, and he decides he's going to bail out Banner Creighton. So he sends his lawyer to town to go visit with Banner and get this worked out. And what's interesting here is Banner doesn't think he'll even get bail because you don't get bail on murder charges. But it sounds like at this point, the mining mogul here has at least this one judge in his pocket. Yeah, so we're going to see what's going to happen there. That's as far as we really get with that. We do meet back up with the women at some point. Karen and Elizabeth are at home waiting on the men. They don't know what's going to happen either, so they're kind of working off nervous energy. They do that by baking, which is awesome. But the men do return home. Everything's fine. This is where Jacob lets his wife know that he did decide to go with her suggestion and just have him arrested and not form the posse and kill him. So they look like they're doing well. They sit down to dinner. They get into a little bit of politics, and I want to talk about that when we come back to this too, because they have a very interesting discussion there for people who have seen Yellowstone, and kind of lay out some political philosophies while also commenting on America in general and our politics, which still holds true today as it did back in 1923. But that's basically the Duttons. That's where we leave them for this episode. This isn't, I don't think, the next thing that happens, but let's just go ahead and talk about Spencer next. So we'll just stay with the Duttons because his storyline's a little shorter, but it's also interesting. So he's on the ship with his new wife, and they are heading to the port city. I Bleav it was Marseille, but one of the big port cities in Europe.
Oh, they ended up going to Sicily, so they're probably in Saginaw.
Okay.
Saginaw, okay. Well, there you go. A big port city. The senators don't really want to have problems with immigration, so they put them on a skiff and head them on over. And basically all that happens in this episode is they get to the port, they find a hotel, they book passage to America, but it's going to take a few days for them to get on that ship. And that's where you would think we leave them, but of course they have to leave that on a cliffhanger as well. And we realize that they run into another party there right as it cuts out, and that party is, of course, what's her name? Alexandra's ex-husband, the one ex-fiance, the one she ran off from to go with Spencer, and just left standing in Africa. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but we'll talk about that. But that's all that really happens with them at this point. They are still trying to get to America and just running into more complications everywhere they go.
Called it.
Yeah, which is fun. Yeah, it's fun. So, and then the last storyline, of course, is Tiona Rainwater. She is now with Henry, a Native American that I don't know if it's part of the tribe. I really don't understand all that, but knows her father anyway. And we finally get to actually meet her father a little more than the little intro we had early in the season. And he is just a massive man. But he comes home, he finds, I'm assuming his mother and not his mother-in-law, but he finds Tiona's grandmother dead. From the last episode, we saw her get killed by the lawman. And he very quickly determines that it was actually probably the government and lawmen that did it, just by the way they shoe their horses. It's weird now to think about a time when everybody didn't shoe their horses, but I guess a lot of people back then couldn't really afford it, so it makes sense. But as he's figuring this out, another Native American rides up, and it turns out that is Henry's son, who they said they were going to send out for him. So together they decide they're going to go back and get his daughter, So that's great. But he wants to stay and bury his grandmother first. So the son runs off without him, and he's just going to follow him later. Buries his daughter and starts heading out to meet this guy. Now, this guy, unfortunately, while camping on his way back, runs into the three priests that we met in an earlier episode that had left the school to go hunt this girl down. And they don't know who he is. He refuses to answer their questions. He's very uncooperative. And they determine he's young enough he probably should be in a school anyway. And they basically just capture him inside